Okay, we are recording live. I am in my car, headed to Miami. Tammy is in her office, trying to keep her toes warm. Is that
Yes.
what you're doing?
Yeah, I got my heater
Yeah.
on. It's
Got
flowing.
your heater on. All right, good. So I am here with Tammy Reese. As if you're watching this video, you headline hits you: stay-at-home mom with 3 boys, earns 6 figures, renting other people's RVs. That's how I marketed you, Tammy. Did I
Sounds pretty
tell any
good.
mistruths in that or anything? Or
Oh yeah. 3 boys. Let's see, they're almost 7, 9 years old, 7-year-old twins and a 9-year-old, and all boy. So living the life, boy mom.
yeah, I just saw your one boy the other day and has finished his wrestling season out,
Yep.
or a wrestling
That was
tournament.
that was quite the excitement as a mom. I've never experienced that type of sport before, obviously with my kid. And it's not easy, that's for sure, to see your child be pretty wrestled up at times. It was kind of hard.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we had our boys wrestle, and it's pretty nerve-wracking deal to watch them like
Yeah.
whooping on each other. It's different when they're wrestling each other in the living room, but when you're
Yeah.
watching some kid you don't know, like beat up on your kid or vice versa, it's
Mhm.
pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah. The first time I saw him get picked up and slammed down to the ground, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can watch this. But he
Yeah,
handled it
right.
well, so stuck with it. Proud of him.
Yeah, made him stronger. Yeah.
Yep.
It reminds me of some conversations you and I have had throughout the years with the RV rental business. You had your victories and your whoopings, and dealing with
Yes, I
owners
did.
and renters and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's
But
definitely an industry that has some ups and downs, that's for sure.
yeah, so let's start at the beginning. How did you get into this industry?
Well, we moved here to Pennsylvania from Florida, the beginning of 2017. We had a fairly new travel trailer. It was a 2014. And of course, I think they were 9 months at the time, my twins and then the toddler. The idea of moving to a new place, setting up a new home and moving in and all that, getting established into a new area, starting a new job, that kind of stuff. I was a stay-at-home mom, but just seemed like, when are we ever going to have time to go camping? And it was something we totally enjoyed doing in Florida. And so we brought the camper with us, but it was one of those, are we going to let it sit for a couple years and start utilizing it once we're more established in the area? Or, do we sell it? What do we do? So the idea of, making some money off of it, renting it, came into mind. And so I thought, shoot, why not? Why not just put it out there, see if it rents? And if I can make enough money to pay the monthly cost of ownership, then it's a win-win, right? Well, by the end of 2017, I made enough money as a little side hustle, being a stay-at-home mom, just with my one travel trailer, enough money to pay off the rest of the loan on the camper. So I got it paid off that year. So I was pretty excited about that. So my mind instantly went into thinking, how can I make a business out of this? How can I turn this into a business? So I had no clue. That's where you come into play, Garr, because God put you in front of me somehow, and I just happened to cross paths with you and saw what you had started with your program. And I thought, wait, that's the idea I had. How can someone else have the same idea? But you had it all figured out already. And so I thought, hey, you know what? If he's got it figured out, then he can teach me and I can, learn from there. So that's what I did. And that's kind of how I got started. And here I am now.
Awesome. Yeah, it's crazy how time flies, huh? That was
Oh
in
my gosh.
2017,
Crazy.
and here we are, 23.
Yep.
What what's like your highest high and your lowest low being in this business. Let's get people the really good and the really bad.
Well, I mean, the highest high for sure was, and it was kind of the both. When COVID hit, you thought you didn't know what was going to happen, right? Like, is this industry done for? Like, nobody's doing anything, everything's getting canceled. But then at the same time, when everything bounced back, I had my fleet was built up at its largest at that time in 2020, and COVID just exploded the industry to where, my units were literally rented out back to back. I mean, there was just no downtime in between. There might have been a day here or there, but to have an entire fleet rented out the entire summer, obviously was a great business experience. The money was flowing, but obviously we were stressed out to the max. But so, experiencing that high of just, getting people back outdoors when COVID hit, and we had a solution for people, to be able to get out of the house, go camping, travel, whatever it was. So that was pretty cool to experience that. It was an up for my business, but also a very fulfilling type of experience in the industry to be able to help people out. And I think the lows, of course, are going to be when things just go wrong. There's damages that are going to occur. You're going to have, even though we had some good times with people, I joke that COVID brought out some of the not so nice people. So there was that time of year where, you're going to have your not so nice customers, your clients, your renters, damages, all those things that are expected. And it's just good to have a plan in place for that kind of stuff. And that's only the way you're really going to get through it. So for me, it was, the downs were definitely the bad experiences and the damages, which are just inevitable in this industry.
Yeah. That's one thing I try to get across to people is you've got to remove that emotional attachment to your RV. And if that's something you can't do, then you probably should not rent it because stuff is going to happen. Renters don't know how to operate an RV like they do know how to rent and operate a car or a house, so there's user error and all those things to keep in mind. But and too, during COVID, one thing I noticed is we weren't sure how the rental industry was going to do, but it's kind of like the people that were camping were still camping, but then the people that couldn't travel internationally and do all those types of things, now those all became our customers. So it's kind of cool how this industry, it's not like a world excursion where you're going to spend $10,000 and it's not a $30 a night motel. So you always have an audience of customers that are there, so you're always going to, be in business and have that opportunity to have a client to serve.
Right.
How many, at your height, how many units were you up to in your fleet?
I think I was right around 20, maybe 22 at my height. And I would say I was pretty even with drivables and travel trailers, which was kind of nice. I had kind of a good, array of different size campers and drivables, which made it nice too. A little bit for everybody. Good, budget wise and everything that someone can afford, something smaller or larger, nicer, elegant, high class A, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then how many of those units did you own and how many were you managing for others?
When I finished, I owned a total of 3. So I started with my travel trailer, which was just a small 18-foot travel trailer. My second year, I think it was when we purchased the Class C, just because we saw the demand for drivables and that type of unit. So we wanted to hit that market as well, but we also liked utilizing a Class C with my family. So we used it for personal as well. And then we also purchased a used little pop-up camper which actually rented out quite often for people looking for that, budget friendly type of camper that they could, pull with a smaller vehicle and that kind of thing. So we kind of had a little niche of all three. And so, I was managing, 18 to 19 or so, owned by other people.
Okay. And tell me, how was that a lot of work to find those units? To manage, like, what does that look like? What did it look like for you?
Yeah, in the beginning for me, it was a little bit of a challenge because no one had ever heard of this idea, right? So no one had ever heard of renting out your camper or having someone else manage it. So it was more of a, rapport building in the beginning, and really kind of weeding through all the people that were really maybe turned off by it, or inspired by, tell me a little bit more about this. And it was more of like, what do you have to lose? Let's give it a try. If you make some money off of it, renting it out, great. If it's not something you are interested in, there's nothing binding you to this agreement. So you could always, pull your camper out. So people were really open to that.